Okay, I just want to start by saying thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me. I suppose we'll start right at the beginning. How did your sort of journey in musical theatre start? How did you get into the arts?
Gosh, honestly, I love this question because my journey on the art in the arts is purely based off delusion. Like I was a little 15-year-old boy and I was like, I want to go to do acting at sixth form. And my mum was like, You've never acted. What are you on about? And I was like, Yes, I have. I have. Like I'm an actor. So I went to Lipper sixth form,
Mhm.
now at Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, getting into my second year. And I've always been a songwriter. I was signed to a record label when I was 13.
Oh,
So I guess I wanted to find a way of combining my love of acting and my love of music,
hmm.
and that fell into what is Boy Bye. So yeah, that's kind of my history with it, I guess.
Amazing. So when you were doing sort of your songwriting stuff before, was that non-musical related?
Yeah, it was non-musical related. It's actually very weird. The record label used to say I was a very emotional singer. Like they used to be
Okay.
like, you are giving emotion in these songs. Clearly had a lot going for me when I was 13. But yeah, so it wasn't necessarily, but I think being able to
Hmm.
connect the music and the emotion that I want to portray into a story and get that to flow
Hmm.
is really cool and something I'm lucky to
Yeah.
be doing.
So for those who don't obviously have not had experience in those sort of fields, how is it different from writing the musical from say writing a traditional song or music?
Gosh, I think the main thing is, and you know what, it is a solo musical, so it isn't as difficult
Hmm.
as I imagine writing a full musical is. But I think just really making sure that I'm coming from the character's voice and like I'm really having to make sure that the words in the song actually mean something and don't just sound nice. I know that's so stupid,
Hmm.
but like looking into the depths of the words that I use, it's like, okay, would this character actually say that rather than, oh, this sounds really nice with
Yeah.
the so yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Right. So you obviously already mentioned it, but what is Boy Bye?
Boy Bye, you know what? Boy Bye is just an explosion of fun, self-love, comedy, like music, and I think it really combines the like traditional style of musical theatre, like these bigger songs with the kind of new up and coming R&B,
Hmm.
pop, rap, that sort of thing. But it is basically a journey about a bisexual boy and he's with his girlfriend and they're about to meet her parents for the first time, and she says, oh, I think you should dress a little bit straighter today, and he's like, oh,
Um,
okay.
hmm.
And that kind of sends him into a spiral where he's looking into his childhood growing up and what is in that bisexual world and what
Hmm.
that experience was. So yeah, that's kind of the basis of the
Yeah.
show, but it's fun, fresh, exciting, and yeah, it's great.
So why did you sort of choose the bisexual community as a means of telling the story? Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, well, obviously, well, I'm bisexual,
Hmm.
so I think when I was 18, because I wrote it when I was 18,
Hmm.
and a lot of people say the first thing that you write as a writer is usually about yourself. So I
Ah.
looked at myself in the mirror and thought, bisexual, yeah, like pretty much it was the year that I came out. So
Oh, wow.
um, and I always like to say I'm from the Midlands, so
Hmm.
there's not much there apart from panto dames and like
Yeah.
youth theatre doing 42nd Street. So I always said that I'd love to be able to write work that I wish I'd seen as a child, as a
Hmm.
kid, teenager. And I don't really think I saw what I wanted or maybe needed to see when I was bisexual growing up. And maybe I was looking in the wrong places, but I think as queer artists, if it's not accessible to the younger generation, we clearly aren't making enough
Yeah.
work. So
That's it.
I think we got to make it until they see it and they
Yeah.
get to see what we didn't see. So that's why it's really special
Yeah.
to me.
And obviously, queer representation anyway is really important. But
Mhm.
obviously, the bi community does not get the representation that maybe some of the other uh, letters
Yeah.
do, or groups of people.
Mm.
And obviously, we've had obviously the Heartstopper that went,
Yes. Yeah.
obviously fantastic show. But the
Mhm.
running gag of this latest season was that I'm bi actually was like, and obviously it did become a little bit of a running joke or something after a
Mhm.
while. However, it's when you think about it, it's really important. It's we bi people
Yeah,
don't
it's
get the
it's so
representation.
important. It's like crazy to me. Like I've seen so many TikToks being like some of them supporting like
Yeah,
funny because it is funny because it's so repeated, and I
yeah,
think repetition like that is comedic, but it's such the truth for a lot of people. I think the LGBT community is growing, and
mm,
that is amazing. And there's kind of sexuality, it's usually seen as two ends, where it's like gay and straight, but anybody in between them
yeah,
two things. Like, so the majority of people fall under the bisexual category, whether it's 1% or
yeah.
97%. So, well 99% actually, that's like mathematically correct. But yeah, so I think it's really, really important. And I think with Heartstopper, like it's just a step in the right direction to
Mm.
hopefully a lot more shows like it.
What's obviously really another conversation that needs to be had on a much wider scale is, I don't know what the term is for, but when bi people are in straight presenting relationships, that
Mhm.
kind of nullifies their queerness.
Yeah, no, you know what? That is really interesting, and that was one of my biggest fears when I first wrote the show. When I first wrote the show, I was in a straight relationship, and my biggest fear or like weight I feel like was weighing on me was I didn't feel correct
Mm,
enough. Like I didn't feel like I was queer enough. I didn't feel like I was the right person to do this. And I think we just have to throw that sort of bi-erasure out of the
yeah,
window. Like so many, like just because you're in this straight relationship doesn't remove your bi-ness. And that's something that this show tackles hugely. And people who came to see it, because it was previewed to a much smaller scale, very, very different show at Clapham Fringe when it sold out, and so many bisexual people who had similar experiences was like, "Oh my gosh, this is never spoken about." And even though it's not my current situation in my life right now, I've got a lovely boyfriend, but it was then, and it's something
yeah.
that I wanted to. I think it's really important to still respect and represent.
Fabulous. Obviously, you talked about previews, and then moving slightly forward in time, you had. I know you've hosted some karaoke party recently. How did that
Yes,
go?
we did. You know what? It was so fun. Like, I'm not from London. Obviously, I've lived here for 2 years, so I've got a lot of friends, but all uni friends home, like on
Yeah.
holiday doing thing. So I didn't. I had two friends that came, and so I was saying to my mom, I was like, I am an optimistic person, but I did not see this going well. But oh my God, it was the most beautiful event. Like the love, the support, the energy. Like I had the majority of people I didn't know, and the generosity and love and support, and everybody getting up singing. Like it was actually like emotional to even think that I could create a space so freeing for a lot of queer people. Like we had people coming for their birthdays, and yeah, it was an amazing event. Big shout out to my director though, Ricky Beadle Blair. Like he hosts UK London Black Pride, he hosts up in Manchester Pride, loads of vocals, and he was like an excellent host. Like I should never have doubted that it would be amazing if he was on board. So it was just a fabulous,
Was
fabulous event.
so was those parties, were they connected to Boy Bye in any way?
Yeah, they were just kind of like, so any it was a well necessarily it was a pay as you can event. So it was kind of like free,
Mm,
pay as you can, any
yeah,
donations. It was kind of a fundraiser. Like I'm only 20,
yeah,
and so I ain't got that much money to build a show. I just got again that delusion coming through. Like me signing the contract with absolutely no money to my name. But yeah, so it was to fundraise, and also we previewed a couple of songs there, which was really exciting. Songs that weren't in the first version, because the first version actually was not sold as a musical. It had 3 or 4 songs, so it kind of sold as a play with songs.
mm.
But we're musical now, baby. There's like 9 or 10 songs, and every day my note from the director, we should have a song here, and I'm like, let me see what's fucking come out this brain.
And getting ready for the turbine. How's that been?
It's been exciting. Like it slowly, like it's been in talks pretty much since we were in previews. So it took me a long time to get them emails sorted and get it all booked. But it's very exciting. It's starting to hit me now that I'll be on that stage, and yeah, it's just such an upgrade.
Mm.
It's actually like It was really weird. I had after my previews a meeting with somebody and I was who was offering me advice on what to do next. And they were like, oh, this show would do amazing at the turbine. So, oh, okay. And it was so random because I was going to watch But I'm a Cheerleader at the turbine that night.
Oh.
So okay. And I had one of them slushies, put a shot of vodka in it as well. And I drank it upstairs and I went, okay, I'm gonna go and ask the person on the bar. And I literally just went down to the bar and I said, I think my show needs to be here. And they were
Mhm.
like, okay, like it was this 19-year-old boy telling us that he needs to be here. And to think almost a year on from that, I'm going to be there is kind of crazy, I guess.
Um, so, did you say that you were starring in the show?
Yeah, I am. One man show, and you're looking at the one man.
So, how has it been sort of creating and starring in at the same time? How have you found that experience?
Oh, that is a good one. I find it quite useful because, I'm not like I always say I'm not a writer's writer. Like I'm not gonna sit there and be the punctuation ain't gonna be correct. Like I'm probably gonna have spelling mistakes. So in that sense, it's good because I'm writing words that I can interpret, and obviously nobody knows my voice better than me. So I'm writing very well for my voice, which is something I really enjoy. And I'm also like it's the only thing that I think is tricky is like separating okay, you're doing technical things, you're going to like
Mm.
go and speak to this theatre, you're going to go and manage what colour the wall should be, like all this like
Yeah.
technical stuff, and then stepping into performer head. And that's something I'm still juggling, but it's something that I'm loving doing, and I've got a lovely team of producers and directors and
Mm.
assistant directors and the theatre obviously backing me, so it's lovely to have that support.
It must be very freeing and sort of exciting to have this idea and then to execute it exactly how you want.
Yeah.
You've come up with
Mhm.
something, and then you're the one who knows that thing the most, so
Mhm.
you get exactly what you want on that stage.
Yeah, it is freeing to be honest. Like
Mm.
to be honest, I've not ever really done work like luckily, touch wood, that I've been like, oh, I really am against this. I really don't like this.
Yeah.
And but it is a blessing to, be in a show that I feel so connected to the message and make sure that the message that I want is there
Mm.
and truthfully. And I think that's one of the best things about my team is that we all understand the show so well.
Mm.
And even if someone is giving me notes or like, oh, I don't think this quite works, it's not coming from a place of like trying to change my message.
Yeah.
It's the finding the best way to
Mhm.
express it.
Have you had an experience of where you've told, obviously you've told your story, and then you've got people very helpfully giving you these ideas or how to think? Has there been any conflict of this is my story? Have you had that experience or no?
You know what? No, I haven't actually, because I think the first time I did it, which
Mm-hmm.
in the previews, I was obviously very young. Well, I still am, but I was
Yeah.
younger. And I think with that, I was very much like a little bit more tightly gripped, like this is my story. But I think what I've grown over the year to realize is that as much as my story is one story in the bisexual community,
Mm-hmm.
like I said about that long percentage, like that story is so wide and there's so many
Mm-hmm.
opportunities for different stories. So because an event in the show potentially might have not specifically happened to me, it's definitely happened to people that I know.
Yeah.
And I'm not offended by changing the story slightly because I think it can only help it reach more people
Mm-hmm.
and speak to more people, because that is ultimately like what we want to do in the funnest way and the best way that we can.
Mm. So, sort of talking about community, sort of where can people get tickets? Where can people stay up to date with the show?
Yeah, so the Turbine website.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
Yeah, I'll
just
put
put
the
it in
links below so
Google.
people can see
Yeah,
it.
Turbine Theatre. What's on? Boy, bye. There'll be a photo of my face in the sun like this, with like two people kissing my cheek. And then Instagram is boybye.show and TikTok is boybye.show as well. I mean, TikTok isn't maybe the most informative platform. It's kind of just me having little bisexual jokes to myself. But if that's the sort of thing you want to see, then come see it.
So I suppose the my final question is sort of what advice would you have for sort of young musical creatives looking to get into the industry?
Um, okay, that's so interesting as well. I would say honestly, like don't. like it's so silly, but don't let anybody stop you. Like I said at the start, like my musical theatre career, I guess you could kind of
Yeah.
call it that now, is based off delusion, and it purely is. Like when I was 18, I was like, I'm gonna write this show and it's gonna be on.
Hmm.
And there was 101 things that needed to happen before that was actually taking place. But never once in my mind did it ever cross that I wasn't going to write this show and I wasn't going to tell this message. And I think to the musical theatre creatives out there who want to do a similar sort of thing, if there's something you feel so passionate about deep in your soul that you can't just not do, like don't let anything stop you doing it, because I really don't think anything can.
Hmm.
Like I think the industry seems very scary to start off with, and sometimes I think I found when I was writing and I was writing these songs, it was like, okay, what am I actually writing these songs for? What is this for? But it's not as hard to get things on and get in places
Hmm.
that you know, like I only got to the turbine because I did the previews, and I only
Yeah.
did the previews because I literally sent 2 scenes and 1 song to the theatre I did the previews at. So like I didn't have much, and so it's anything can get built from nothing basically. So don't think you need this big long career and this
Hmm.
big history and then you can do what you want to do. You can do that.
And I suppose, like what you said, this big sort of 98% of the community, everyone has their own story.
Mhm.
No one's story is less than or more than each other's
Mm.
story. Everyone has gone through their own queer journey, and that's their own story. Like you've told the majority of your story, however, you know, someone else will have a different one, however, still relatable and
Yeah.
still connects to each other,
Mhm.
which is
I
fantastic.
like, yeah, I really don't think like we can get. I know obviously some people in the news are like, oh, well, there's all these queer shows, and every story now has a queer show. But like, I wasn't in. I was closeted when I was 17, so that's 3 years ago, and I was not really taking in a lot of queer media. And I know things have improved since 3 years ago, but if me living in like mainstream, like Midlands on social media watching Netflix is not seeing queer art, then there's still a
Yeah,
lot longer to go.
and like we said, obviously, there's still representation for the queer community needed, especially the bi community as well. And
Mhm.
obviously, we're seeing things about the trans community being under attack at
Yeah.
the moment. So
Mhm.
all these stories, um, you know, I personally, I don't see the issue with people telling their stories. I don't understand
No.
why that would be a problem.
Yeah, literally, like everybody's story has so much beauty in it. And like, I think when you meet people, they tell you these stories and they're so exciting and beautiful. And if there's a way you can portray that, if it's through song, theatre, like painting or pottery or whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
I think there's place for everybody to tell their beauty and their story, because it is beautiful. Because I think life itself is very beautiful. And yes, it has some ups and downs,
Mhm.
but kind of like a painting, it needs different colors and different textures to make it beautiful. And I think everyone's journey is beautiful.
That was really nice. I really like that. So I'll end the same way I started, just by saying thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, because I really love your channel. I think it's amazing. Like I loved the being able to come on here. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so much. And obviously, I'll put the links into the description below, so people can just scroll down
Mhm.
and click away. So yeah, thank you so much, and I shall speak to you soon.
Thank you. See you soon.